Hi everyone, and welcome to my live Q&A today. Now, it's such a beautiful day here in the UK, and I know that despite even the good weather, a lot of you are really struggling to stay feeling positive or happy right now. Now, I've got so many emails that came in yesterday, so I know a lot of you are having a really, really tough time. So I'm grateful that you could join me, and please do, if you're joining me live now on either YouTube or on Instagram, please do drop your questions in for me, because I will get through them, and I will stay and get through them as well if you would like me to. So if you are having any problems, I know I've got people who are struggling in breakup, living with their partner, and this is putting an enormous amount of pressure on the relationship. Some of them weren't great to start with, some of them were good to start with, and this is just really putting an abnormal amount of pressure. Now, my first advice would be, listen, you know what, this is going to test even the best of relationships. So please don't worry if you normally get on really well with your partner and recently you are finding this a real struggle, because you are not alone and it is normal. And actually going through tough times can make you stronger as a couple if you cope with it, if you manage to manage it now in the best possible way. So understanding, for example, I know we've talked about this before, but it's so important, your way of resolving conflict. You know, what are you? Are you one of those people that I call a nagger, who just literally goes on and on, persistently pestering your partner until the message gets through to them, which ultimately for some of them, it won't ever get through to them? Or are you a snapper? Do you snap? You know, are you snapping at them? Because if you are, you've got to really be consciously aware of what you're doing and the impact of that on your partner. And this isn't judging right or wrong. This is just you identifying your strategy so you can improve your relationship whilst you're in this really difficult situation. You might be an exploder. Exploder is someone that just literally goes to rage straight away. Okay. But then it might be over in a few minutes even, and definitely forgotten within a couple of hours. So what are you? Maybe you're a pacifier. This is someone that goes around and tries to be amicable and pacify the situation and make everybody friendly. Or maybe you're an avoider. And this is the final category. An avoider is somebody that just shuts down at the first sign of conflict, walks it, will not engage. These are people usually who don't like to express emotions. Now, if you know which you are, then you can take your control back and start to do something with it. You can also look at how your partner resolves conflict, because if you have a deeper understanding of your arguments and these tensions, you're better equipped then to navigate this minefield. You can say, look, I'm doing it again, I know I'm doing this, or have a conversation if you're amicable enough to do so, to say, look, I know I do this, you know you do this. We have different styles. Maybe you have the same styles, or maybe you're working your way through all 5 of those. But at least having an understanding gives you the ability to take control of it and do something positive with it. Okay, so that's why I'm sharing it with you. Now, I know that there's some of you out there that cannot communicate with your exes. I know there's a lot of you out there who are now single and learning to cope in isolation with the breakup. One of the emails I've had is that someone's partner has left her and just announced last weekend that his girlfriend is 6 months pregnant. Now, she didn't know about this. She knew he'd moved on and met somebody else, had no idea that he was having a baby with this new partner. She has a 6-year-old daughter with this man, and the daughter is really struggling because she feels she's being replaced. Now, please know you're not alone. There are lots of my clients at the moment that have recently found out, I don't know why all of a sudden, but recently found out that their exes are moving on and having kids with their partners, their new partners. Now, first of all, please realise that it doesn't mean that they are super happy necessarily. It might do, but you can't assume that just because they have a baby, everything's great. Yeah, it could have been something they hadn't planned. It could be something that they are horrified by. I know one of my clients, her partner is in his late 50s now, so she, you know, that's going back to nappies and all that. I don't know about you guys, but oh my goodness, I don't think I could do that. So, you know, it's not all roses. Now, managing the dynamic with the kids is going to be really important for you, because some children will take it in their stride and be excited, and other kids might feel replaced, or that maybe it's going to pull that parent away from them. Of course, it doesn't need to do that, and it may not, but in some cases it could. So communicate with your ex if you can about this. is really important. However, if you can't, then doing the right thing, again, it comes back to that time and time again, which is never the easy thing, but being positive, and if you can be excited for your child, that they're going to have a half brother and sister, and what that could mean to them, some of the positives, your child will take their lead from you. If they can see you're anxious and upset, that will go through to them. So it's really important that you get the messaging right for your children. I know that's not always easy. Now, thanks everyone for joining. If you do have your own questions, do drop them in the chat below, because I really want to be here to help you during these tough times. I know that so many of you are dealing with some really difficult issues. Jealousy is one that's come up a lot overnight. Jealousy is an interesting thing, isn't it? Because it's about being jealous of someone's relationship. It could be you're jealous of that connection someone has with your ex now. It could be that you feel less than, you're doing the comparison over and over again. And that comparison is really soul destroying sometimes. You know, I know when my ex moved on, I found that really hard. At first, it was really challenging. But actually, the way to flip it, the way to change around, is to start thinking about other things, you know, not about them together. Because if you're doing that, it is going to cause you pain, because your brain is automatically going to romanticize what they had. Okay, just like your brain romanticizes what you had with your ex, which wasn't always as romantic as maybe your brain will tell you. We have a great propensity for being able to see the good in the past and not focus on what was bad, because that keeps us hooked in and that maintains that heartbreak. Now, seeing your partner with somebody else is really tough. And I know that some of you, especially someone that's written in today, you know, even on your one weekly shop at the moment, you're just so scared that you're going to bump into them at the supermarket because they live in the same place as you. And this is something that I see time and time again, that people stop living their lives because they're scared of bumping into their ex and their partner. I do have a really good technique for this, which I learned from my friend Paul McKenna. I don't know if any of you know him. I'm sure you do. He's a household name over here in the UK and the States now. Paul McKenna, he used to do the hypnotic shows way back in the day when I met him, but he also trains people in NLP, and he's written lots of incredible books. If you haven't read any of them, then please do. If you're having trouble sleeping, then I Can Make You Sleep is a fantastic book to help you sleep at night. And there is, as I've mentioned before on here, a double induction, hypnotic induction in one of the chapters. So if you listen to it on audio as a book, that will really, if you wake up in the night, that will keep you relaxed and help you fall back to sleep, and it actually reprograms your brain with some really positive, empowering messages. Anyway, Paul taught me this technique and it really helps. It's called Mind Movie. And it really helps if you are worried about something coming up. As with everything I share with you, they're all life skills, transferable life skills. So this you could use, for example, if you had an exam coming up or a meeting that you were worried about. But you could also use it for if you're worried about going to the supermarket, for example, like this lady has said, where she'll wait in her car and not get out because she's worried, and she's just looking around the car park to see if they're there. And constantly when she's in their supermarket, she's looking to see if they're coming around the aisles or who's walking in, like stopping her from getting on and living her life. Because sometimes she spends over an hour in the car park trying to pluck up the courage to even go in. So this Mind Movie exercise works like this. What I like you to do is just to imagine you're sitting in a cinema. Okay, no, we can't do that right now, but let's imagine. So sitting in a cinema and you're looking up at a big movie screen. Okay, and I want you to play the movie of what you're scared about, but I want you to play a version where it goes really, really well. Okay, so for example, in this lady's example, she's pulled up to Tesco's, she's in the car, she's worried. Okay, but in this case, in the movie, she gets out the car feeling confident and strong, and she walks into the supermarket, she gets her trolley and she wanders around, and what happens is she goes around the first aisle and there is her ex, and double whammy, he's with the girlfriend. Okay, so how does she feel? So she runs this movie of her coping really, really well. She hears what she's saying, so the words, and also practicing them out loud is really important for this. So practice out loud what you would say, because you don't want to be scrabbling around to think of something to say. It's all about pre-planning, okay? It's how you dial down those negative emotions. You take control of them, you own them, okay? So what we're going to say, for example, in this case might be, oh, hi, great to see you both. Hope you're keeping well. And then wait for a response. And then you say, listen, I've really got a dash. I'm busy doing, I've got someone waiting for me at home, or I've got to get back. I've got a call to make, and off you go. So just practice it so that it comes out confidently. And I want you to play that in the movie as you're sitting there and seeing you standing confidently, hear what you'd say if it was going really, really well. Okay, and feel how you'd feel if it was going well. So confident, obviously you might have a few nerves, a little bit of an adrenaline rush, but feeling confident, calm, and collected is the most important thing. Okay, and then walking around or getting the rest of your shopping, feeling like, oh, I did it. It wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. Well done, me. Proud of myself. Coming out, getting in the car, driving home, feeling good. Now, how this works is that your brain doesn't know the difference between something that you've played over and practiced in your head a few times, sort of imagined it, and it actually being real. So what happens is when you go in and you bump into your ex, your brain goes, oh, I know how this goes. It goes really well. I know what I say. I know how I feel. I know what sounds are going on. And then I know how I get out, because I've got my getaway phrase all worked out. I've got to go. I've got a call in 20 minutes. I've just got to dash around and grab a few bits. Do that and leave. So your brain already knows. Now, in reality, what happens? What happens is you can get out the car and you can go because you're prepared. You know, you're not wasting time thinking, what if, or how will I cope, or is this going to be a nightmare? Okay, so this is really important. You can use this for pickups and drop-offs of children, or having to go to courts, or anything like this. Okay, you imagine it going super, super well, and you practice it over and over in your mind. Probably as you're in bed before you go to sleep, running it might work, or maybe when you go for a walk, you can run it over in your head. But you need to practice out loud so you know you've mastered what you're going to say. So it's like you script it all out and you act it all out in the best possible scenario. So that when it actually happens, you can deal with it. Okay, in that moment, you're not scrabbling for what do I say, how do I feel, you know, because your brain will go, oh, I've done this before, boom, this is what I do. 2 aisles down, you might get a bit shaky, okay? You might, but that's okay, because you didn't fall apart in front of your ex and his new person. Okay, you didn't. You got through that. You did what you needed to do. So you can be proud of yourself. So do you see how it works, where you can take your control back? And everything I teach you about breakups is about learning to take your control back so that you're in charge of what's going on in here, and you're not just being battered by somebody else's behavior. There's somebody here, CC Lawyer, hello. Please can I repeat the 5 personality types? Yeah. So the personality types I was talking about earlier in the call were how you deal with conflict. Okay, and what I mean by that is we all are different. We all have our own, what I call, map of the world. None of us see the world in the same way. None of us react in the same way. We all have different reasons why we are built differently, and our personalities are different, and our beliefs are different. And the way we cope with things is different. So how do you cope with conflict? How do you cope with it? Because some people, there's 5 different categories that I created. This is something that I find most people will fall into at least one of these, and sometimes you'll work your way through the whole lot in a very short space of time. But what I want you to identify is, where do you predominantly fall in these 5 personality types for resolving conflict? So are you, number 1, a nagger? So a nagger is someone that will just persistently pester your partner, or anyone, could be your child or anyone, until they finally do what you do, in the hope that you'll get through to them eventually. Now, you may not, but are you a nagger? That's number 1. Number 2 is, are you a snapper? A snapper is someone that can make little diggy remarks, little diggy remarks, snap at them when they say something. It's almost a little bit passive-aggressive. Well, it is a passive-aggressive reaction. So you're not going the whole raging bull thing, but you're just making them know that you're not happy, and you're just... you know what I mean? Like those little digs. The next one is, are you an exploder? So exploder is someone that completely loses their anger, completely goes to rage. But then sometimes it's over very, very quickly. Now, sometimes it's not, but we can define individually, when you deep dive into each category, which one you are and what your rules are for it, because the rules will be different. So even if you and your partner are both naggers, you might do it in a different way. And then the next one is a pacifier. That's somebody who tries to make the peace and be friendly with everybody, try and calm everything down and bring everyone back together. And the last one, which sometimes is the most tricky one to help resolve conflict with, is an avoider. And an avoider is someone that shuts down and does not want to communicate at all. So if you mention anything that's conflict, you'll see the shutters come down and that'll be it. So emotionally not able to really talk about those difficult situations. So the reason why I talk about that is it's really important to understand what your style of communication around conflict.